Hello everyone and welcome to This Week in Stupid for the 14th of November 2021. I hope you're all having a good time because I know someone who isn't, and that is Jeff Bezos. This news was brought to me by my wife. I guess this is the type of news that normal people like to follow, so now I have been enlightened, and if that's the case, alright, let's present the news about normal people. You see, Jeff Bezos attended a film gala where Leonardo DiCaprio was seen talking to his girlfriend, and people on the internet are speculating that there might have been flirtatious comments. Ooh. Now, the rumors circulated for a couple of days until Jeff Bezos has posted this on the Twitter. Now, this is what normal people see, and this is what I see. I guess it's up for you to decide which is which. As for my number 2 story, yes, my number 2 story. According to Camilla, she hasn't stopped talking about hearing the president break wind during the chat at the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow. According to her, it was long and loud and impossible to ignore. The wind. What was that song from Aladdin? Follow me to a place where incredible feats are routine every hour or so. Where the wind from the west meets the sound from the east and the sand in the glass is right. I guess that is a good way of making women blush. Some people read poetry, other people show body language. But then you have the American way. America, fuck yeah! But then again, I'm really not surprised. I mean, the whole purpose of the COP meeting was to show people how to pollute, bringing private jets, bringing massive motorcades, and now raising the carbon emissions within the room. So everything is within team. It's going as planned. It's to show people how to pollute. If they didn't want to pollute, they could have this on Skype, and none of this would have happened. But no, they had to go there with their private jets to show us, mortal people, how to live the life. Now, truth be told, they did meet a couple of hurdles when discussing on how to save the planet. For example, how can you tell the race of trees is something that the scientists are now struggling to figure out.
Can you measure
climate adaptation strategies?
Can you measure trees? Because part of that data that you're referring to, and it's in EJ, it's environmental justice, but you can also track by race. There are averages in terms of the number of trees in the neighborhood where people live.
Climate.
Damn it, we must know the race of trees. Our entire philosophy, our entire way of life, our scientists can only focus on race. Without race, how can we apply anything? So tell us, what race is this forest? But in reality, what she is talking about is about certain neighborhoods, okay? So a tree in an Asian neighborhood must be an Asian tree. A tree in a white neighborhood is an evil tree because it takes the sin from the soil and it becomes evil. But all jokes aside, no, I'm legitimately serious when I say that the American way of life is now built around race. It is fundamental within the American system. And you can see this into the Build Back Better plan. And this is how they advertise. You get to see Linda, which is a working mother in Peoria, Illinois. She works at a local manufacturing facility as a production worker and earns $40,000 per year. She is pregnant with her son, Leo. So this is what's on the box. This is how the bill is being presented. If you don't support the Build Back Better plan, you hate Linda. Why do you hate Linda? Now, Linda, as you can see, is a white American woman. So this is what's on the box. This is what is presented to people. But now let's see what's inside the box. $1 billion to Native American, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian community for housing needs. $500 million for minority-serving schools of medicine. $112 million for teacher preparation program at historically black colleges and minority-serving institutions. 75 million for culturally appropriate care management and services for older individuals who are racial and ethnic minorities. 75 million in study maternal health for pregnant and postpartum minority individuals. $50 million study maternal mortality among minorities. 50 million to improve behavioral health outcomes for communities of color. 75 million to increase research capacity at minority serving institution, $1 billion for minorities, and $200 million for rural business centers. So the only time you don't hear the word people of color or minority is when they actually talk about persistent poverty communities, historically economically distressed, historical injustice, or undeserved communities. So you will say, well, V, you bigot. Clearly, they're also talking about white people there. Like, they're not discriminating. They're talking about communities that have been historically unprivileged, injustice. Some of them may be white. Why are you a bigot? Why are you discriminating? I refer to you to the page 111 of the bill. This section also defines an undeserved community as a group of people who have been systematically denied the full opportunity to participate in aspects of economic, social, and civic life. Undeserved communities include Black, Latino, Indigenous, Native American people, Asian American, and Pacific Islanders, other of people of color, etc. So to recapitulate, as I understand with my little Eastern European pea brain, a government should represent all the people. It's a government by the people, for the people, to the people. But apparently, in the United States, things aren't the same way again. It's about the heritage, the pedigree, the way you were born, the choice that your parents had when they decided to fuck. Something that is completely outside of your realm of control. And if you were born right, well, now you may get money from the government. If you are born wrong, well, the government can shut down your business. In other words, like, this bill exists because the government shut down everyone's business. So every community in the United States was affected by this. But now the government is coming with the 23andMe test and is going like, well, who are your parents, little kid? Let's see, did they fuck properly? Yes, they did. You get money from the government. Oh, no? Then you get inflation. Because this bill costs trillions of dollars, which they claim isn't costing anything, which means they're going to print money. And by printing money, prices go all the way up, and your wage stays the same. So technically you're still paying for it, but shush. So the question is, alright, but if I'm unlucky enough to be a white American, if I'm unlucky enough that my parents didn't fuck properly, and I'm born like this, what can I do? Well, you still need to support the Build Back Better bill, because otherwise you're a white supremacist. Alright, like, without this, the supremacy happens. So only by voting this bill, the supremacy doesn't happen, and you're going to be called a white supremacist the next time you don't vote for a similar bill. So that is like what you need to do as a citizen of the United States. If you happen to have the wrong skin color, keep supporting these things so they don't insult you. And whatever you do, if you're in Virginia, do not support black people that happen to be Republican, because diversity is our strength everywhere except in the Republican Party. That's too much diversity, and that's actually supporting white supremacy if you vote black people into positions of power. Does that make any sense? Wanting a government to be for everyone, like everyone, regardless of race, everyone should be helped by the government after the government shuts down businesses, after the government imposes measures and legislation like printing money, which makes it bad for everyone. Everyone should be helped. Well, the answer is no. That's not very progressive. That's reactionary. It's not about logic. It's about healing and unity. Moving on. Apparently, in Los Angeles, a city run by the Democrats, after the police has been demoralized and many police officers has quit, surprise, surprise, crime has skyrocketed. I know, Pikachu face. And now it seems that the citizens of Los Angeles have to do a sort of mating dance whenever leaving their home, because the streets are so dangerous. So, for example, when you leave your car, you need to start being aware of your surroundings for anything unusual or out of the ordinary. It's like a mating dance, as I mentioned before. And some people have the audacity to blame the politicians for this, the lawmakers, who have created an environment where crime could thrive. They have passed legislation that show infinite compassion towards the criminal and almost no compassion towards the victim. Some people would say, well, this is just the lawmakers that are attacking the things they despise the most, which is the working class. But in reality, no. Okay, that is white supremacy thinking. This is an act of God. This is a calamity. It just happened naturally. There's nothing that can be done in order to stop it, which is why the lawmakers don't even take it seriously. So the only solution left is victim blaming. Yeah, like literally the cops are now telling people, be careful how you dress when you go outside. We're going to go to, like we have here, be cautious of displaying high-value property in public, such as purses, watches, and jewelry. See, this is not very progressive for me. Like, we're not going to achieve progress with this backwards reactionary thinking that the cops are displaying, victim blaming people. They need to be fired. We need to fire more of the police officers. Only when enough police officers are fired will we achieve true progressivism. But in the meantime, let's go through all of them. So, due to an increase in violent street robberies, as I mentioned before, this is a calamity. It's the virus's doing. It might possibly be a side effect. But I'm not an authoritative source here, right? Like, just what I'm thinking might not be the case, so you need to check on the authoritative sources. But consider that it might possibly be a side effect on why the crime rates are rising. So, the victims have been followed from places such as Belarus Avenue, the jewelry district of LA, nightclubs, high-end restaurants in LA. The target of these robberies have been expensive jewelry, including watches, necklaces, as well as other expensive purses. Victims also have been targeted based on the type of vehicle that they're driving. See? It used to be careful of what skirt you're wearing. Now it's be careful of the Honda you are driving. These crimes have occurred throughout the city of LA as well as neighboring cities. Different suspects have been identified and arrests are made for these types of crimes. The following are recommendations for community members. So this is the baiting dance you have to do every time you leave your house. Be aware of one's surroundings for anything unusual or out of the ordinary before exiting your car, walking out of a restaurant, store, malls, or clubs. Now, they don't really say why you should be aware of. Like, you just need to be like Nancy Drew with the magnifying glass whenever you get out of your car for anything unusual or unordinary. Like what, a UFO? Like what exactly am I looking for? They don't mention. Be cautious of displaying high-value property in public, such as purses, watches, and jewelry. Victim blaming is what it is. Record and report suspicious activity to the police. Snitching, right? So now you pay taxpayer money to the cops, but on top of that, you also have to snitch, and you have to write down suspicious suspect vehicle description. If you are driving and believe you are being followed, dial 911. If possible, drive to the nearest police station. Has this actually ever happened? Jesus, like in my country, I've never heard of someone actually being followed. That's crazy, man. That's spooky. If you are being robbed, do not resist the robbery suspects. Yes, do not resist, alright? You are not capable of defending yourself. You need to call 911 and comply with the demands of the criminal. So this is also part of the baiting dance. The criminal comes to you, you back up a little bit, and then you go back a little forward, and you meet in the middle. What do you want? Your money? Here you go, sir. Anything else I can help you with today? And after the criminal leaves, you're like, 911? Yeah, I just been robbed. When are you going to get here? Oh, in like 2 hours? Alright, well, I hope you catch the guy. Do not chase or follow the robber suspect out of your place of business or home. Leave the job of catching the suspect to the police because they are doing such a wonderful job at it. Yeah, I mean, they definitely seem to have a handle on the situation. Trust the experts, which are the police officers, of course. If only they would get a little bit more funding. If only they would get a little bit more moralized. And if only lawmakers and the media would talk more about this in order to highlight the problem so it can be fixed. But yeah, in the meantime, of course, yes, absolutely. Comply with the robber, drive to the nearest police station, hopefully in a Trabant. Because otherwise, you might make mainstream news. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that in America, you actually have a case that is so popular, I even heard about it from Romania. I'm pretty much sure like everyone knows about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, where apparently some very skilled and highly trained internet political analysts are having a hard time comprehending and understanding what actually took place there.
According to the facts of the case, it may well be the case that in spite of all that, his exercise of self-defense was legitimate. It may be the case that it wasn't, that he wants it to be self-defense, but it wasn't. These are the ambiguities that have kept me from making strong cases on the legal situation with regards to Kyle Rittenhouse.
They brandish the firearm and the other person continues to chase them and run at them and shows themselves to be aggressive. Does the other person have a right to defend themselves?
If the person chases through those circumstances and the person who is chasing is the aggressor, then in that case, I think, unless there's some incredibly weird circumstance, I would side with the shooter. But this isn't what happened in the case here. These are the ambiguities that have kept me from making strong cases on the legal situation with regards to Kyle Rittenhouse.
Even running, he's literally walking away. I don't know if
he walked out of shock and then he ran when people started to pick up after him, which is a reasonable thing to do.
Chase him?
Yeah, because he just murdered somebody. These are the ambiguities that have kept me from making strong cases on the legal situation with regards to Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, because he just murdered somebody!
Ah yes, ambiguity. I hate ambiguity. I want to live in a society where there is truth and misinformation, and the truth is all-knowing. I don't like ambiguity. So how do we get rid of ambiguity? Well, we go on Twitter and we look at the Luciferos, the light bringers of our society, the blue check marks, the anointed ones. From the multi-billion-dollar corporation, Twitter, who plays a pivotal role in democracy and protecting our democracy, just like the founding fathers envisioned. They have the ability of giving blue check marks to the Luciferos, as I mentioned before, the light bringers. And here you have them, and they all must parrot in unison like a church choir the same thing over and over again to get it into the heads of the peasantry, the heads of the civilians, so we can have democracy. I want to live in a country where Colin Kaepernick is seen as a hero and Kyle Rittenhouse is seen as a terrorist. And then repeat, until everyone gets it. This is the correct way of thinking. Everything else is misinformation. This is how democracy is supposed to function. But you know what? I'm glad that this lawsuit is made so popular and everyone gets to watch it, because you can learn a lot of things from a lawsuit. You need to know the law of the land, and you need to also know how the law of the land is applied. So you look at the prosecutor, which is grilling a person, and you know what the prosecutor is thinking. And you're like, okay, if the prosecutor is upset that this has happened, then I should make sure I'm not doing any of this, because I might get in trouble with the law. So let's see one of the things that the prosecutor was very upset regarding Kyle Rittenhouse.
Start running towards that lot, right?
Towards the fire that in the Duramax.
And Mr. Rosenbaum is running ahead of you, isn't he?
I don't believe so.
But you decided you needed to run because of the fire on the Duramax?
Yes.
Why? What was so urgent?
It was a fire.
There's fires all over the place, so?
I was getting to the fire to put it out.
Man, I'm no expert, but I think this might be the mindset of Kyle during that night.
Fire bad! Fire bad!
But apparently that is the wrong mindset for a citizen to have, because if you listen to the trial, there's a lot of it, and I didn't take snippets, but you can listen and fact check me on this if you want. The prosecutor actually chastises Kyle for not dialing 911. If you see a fire, you should dial 911. And I'm thinking, okay, so these are the type of citizens the prosecutor and the governors want to surround themselves with. Like, if I see a fire on my neighbor's house or on my neighbor property, I should be like, well, I guess I gotta call 911. I can't carry a bucket over there. I can't lend a hand to help because I might upset the arsonists. And God knows we don't want to do that, now do we?
Isn't it true when you would hang out with Dominic Black, you'd play Call of Duty and other first-person shooter video games?
Sometimes.
And those are games in which you use weapons like AR-15s to pretty much shoot anybody who comes at you, correct?
It's a video game where two players are playing together. I don't really understand the meaning of your question, to be honest.
Isn't one of the things people do in these video games try and kill everyone else with your guns?
Yeah, in the video game, it's just a video game, it's not real life.
Please respond with a yes or no question, Kyle. I have it right here that in 2019, you bought one ticket to see the movie Joker. Is that correct? Yes. And you went to the theater without a girlfriend to see the Joker. Is that correct, Mr. Rittenhouse? Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there might be justice in this case involving 4 white people because the judge may be a white supremacist. Dun dun dun! Lightning. Thunder. You see, when the accusation commented on the fact that the defendant exercised his amendment to remain silent after the arrest and, heaven forbid, hire a lawyer, because we only know that guilty people hire lawyers, the judge said the following.
I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, well, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
We filed an other acts motion on this exact issue because, in my mind, and I argued this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect...
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your argument's of record. My comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest that anything's changed. Even if you're correct, I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why...
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defendant's testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
You want more evidence that the judge is a white nationalist? Ladies and gentlemen, Exhibit A. During the trial, his phone rang, and what we heard on the ringtone was the song God Bless America. That is literally the MAGA national anthem. Only a far-right, fascist, right-winger, racist, bigoted, homophobic, transphobic, racist would have that anthem on his phone, and as such, the judge is biased, and we should demand for a mistrial. Want more evidence? Exhibit B. Not only did he have the ringtone God Bless America, but if you look at what's behind the judge right here, we notice a hate symbol, which was also carried at many MAGA rallies across the country. This might actually be the hate symbol of MAGA itself. So clearly, the judge is a white supremacist. But if you're still not convinced, the brave defenders of justice, the multi-billion-dollar for-profit corporate entity CNN, has defended democracy yet again by doing investigative journalism, the likes of which the world has never seen. And they have found that the judge has made a joke. A joke! Oh, how horrible! In today's society, people still get to joke. Why is this allowed? Why is it allowed by the banks? Why is it allowed by the lawmakers? How can we continue living on? If people are allowed to make jokes, we need multi-billion-dollar corporations to step in right now and deplatform anyone that makes jokes. We need the banks. We need the politicians. Only the people at the higher up, because they're the only ones that matter. They should get involved and make sure that no one gets to make any more jokes. No more funny. No more funny. So he made jokes. Do you know what? Do you know why he made the joke at the expense of Asian cuisine? How can you make a funny out of a food that was created in Asia? What is wrong with you? This judge is not just far right. He is beyond far right plus ultra. And this is why CNN, the pillar on which the American system is raised, and they got random Asians to speak on behalf of all Asians everywhere, because this is the power of CNN. They empower people so that individuals can speak for everybody that have the same genetical makeup as they do. And they said that because the judge has made jokes about the cuisine, it harms their community. A joke just decimated communities, and CNN wants you to be aware of that. It put into the crosshairs of microaggressions, but more importantly, actual physical violence. Actual physical violence because of a joke. This is how dangerous jokes are. We do not let our enemies do physical violence, so why would you let them do jokes? And by the way, just so you know, if I ever do a microaggression, I will give you a micro apology. And if I don't do that, you need to call the micro police to put me into the micro prison because I will micro deserve it. Man, that really depressed me. I still can't believe that in today, people get to joke. Ugh. I thought we moved beyond that as a society. I thought we managed to transcend the funny. But no, we are constantly being brought back by the reactionary forces. So let's talk about something more enlightening. Did you know that at COP26, yes, the massive spike in carbon, if you looked on the globe, it's like boom, the carbon exploded. What happened? It's the climate change conference. Oh, I see. People brought their private jets, their motorcades, brought wind of the story. And with the wind came little Amal. Now, little Amal is supposed to be a representation of children refugees that have migrated now legally. She legally migrated 8,000 kilometers, like people brought her and did this journey. And she is now back to the UN. So let us take a look at little Amal. I gotta say, this is a beautiful representation of the situation. You have a little girl being puppeteered by grown-ass adults which are hiding behind her skirt, and they are pushing her forward as an ideological kludgel, while the grown-ass adults with ideological leanings are using her. So I love it. You know what this is missing though? I'll tell you what it's missing. It's missing its own theme song. Every superhero has a theme song. So let's see if we can fix it. Alright, enough of that. Just buy whatever they're selling because they're very talented people. Moving the doll 8,000 kilometers. I love that. I hope you love This Week is Stupid as well. As usual, if you like to support this channel, you can give me a super chat if you catch this video live. If not, there is a link into the pinned comment where you could actually donate, and I will use that money to potentially buy a coffee. But regardless of what I buy, you will definitely get buyer's remorse for me. You will regret giving me money if you do so. Now, This Week is Stupid is a lot bigger than 30 minutes, although I try to keep it smaller so that viewers watch it, because people get bored if I keep it up. But if you're the type of viewer that doesn't get bored, I have a live stream channel. It's also into the pinned comment. And right after this, finishes airing, you can click the link and it will send you to my live stream channel, and we can talk about some other news that I didn't manage to cover here. So we're going to have a lot of fun if you follow me there, and hopefully I'll see you in the chat over there. Take care and have fun.